Can a 20 by 20 foot garden really feed a family? We're in year 3 of this experiment, and even with some setbacks this season, this little plot is still keeping food on our table. Today I'll show you exactly what's growing right now, what failed, and what's next for fall planting. If you've been following along, these front beds were loaded with green beans earlier this summer. We harvested well over 10 pounds of them in just the first picking. But then the rain came, way too much rain. The foliage died back, and while the plants are technically still alive, the beans left behind are bug-bitten and rough. So today I'm pulling what's left, amending the soil, and planting our next crop, carrots and broccoli. Most of these beans have been attacked by these yellow bugs, and I'm just going to pull these plants out and give them to the chickens. I picked off all the beans that looked good and just chalk it up as a short-term loss, but keep moving forward. Carrots are one of my favorite fall crops because they actually taste sweeter when harvested in the cold. This remove one crop and immediately plant the next strategy is how we keep fresh food coming out of a small space all season long. And here's a fun surprise. If you remember in my last update, I showed you how I planted mushroom blocks between these green bean rows. Well, I didn't even realize it until I started pulling beans, but one of those blocks had grown a massive fruit cluster. We harvested a big batch of oyster mushrooms and fried them up for breakfast with our eggs, and they were incredible. That got me fired up to grow even more mushrooms. I've planted them all over our 400 square foot garden now. Under the mulch walkways, I can already see lots of wine-cap mushroom mycelium spreading. No mushrooms yet, but they're coming soon. I'm also adding this mushroom bucket kit from North Spore, their mush bucket. It comes with everything you need to grow mushrooms successfully. I've tried the DIY version of this bucket before and it failed. I even made a video on that a few years ago, and if you're wondering why I never made a follow-up video, that's why. So I really like having the whole kit ready to go. I simply followed the instructions and quickly had another source of food growing in just a small 5-gallon bucket. If you want to try it yourself, I've linked my affiliate link in the description below so you can grab one yourself from North Spore. To plant carrots, I start by loosening the soil with a broad fork and making sure it's nice and fine. No big wood chips or clumps. Carrots need constant moisture during germination, so here's my trick. I cover the bed with a board or a piece of cardboard until the seeds sprout. That helps the soil hold moisture so it doesn't dry out. If you don't want to do that, you can just constantly make sure that the soil is wet, and you really have to stay on top of that or they just won't sprout. We're also going to be planting broccoli in these empty beds where the green beans were for fall. This is how you always have food for your family even in a small space. Even though the bed space wasn't ready yet, I started broccoli in the first few weeks of July in order to have it grown and ready to plant once these beans were harvested. I have never timed broccoli right in years past, even this spring. But my hope is that by starting them early in July, that will give them enough of a head start to be able to grow beautiful, full heads of broccoli by mid-October, just as the temperature is starting to cool down. This should also help relieve pest pressure, which was a problem this spring. I also used my propane torch to kill off all the remaining weeds and any of those yellow bugs remaining in the soil that attack the green beans. I don't want those bugs to also start attacking my broccoli. Broccoli is a plant we buy at the store very often, so if we can harvest many pounds ourselves and store them in our freezer, that's much less we'll have to buy this winter, and it's also going to be better quality than we get from the store as well. This trellis should be covered in loofahs and squash by now, but my weed experiment earlier this season shaded them out. Lesson learned. I thought I planted 5 tomato plants in each of these center beds, but only 3 made it, probably affected by the shade from the wheat. They're taking off now though. On one side we've got cherry tomatoes and on the other heirloom slicers. When these tomatoes have finished growing, I will plant spinach in these beds which I will be starting in seed trays in just a few weeks to get them a good head start. Over here, I've got a new long cucumber variety from Baker Creek that I can't wait to try. We've also got this kind of melon variety that I can't actually remember. It's one that we got as a free plant from our local community garden, so that'll be a nice surprise. One of our carrot beds had poor germination, so instead of letting that space go to waste, I'm filling the gaps with lettuce. In a small garden, every square foot counts. This carrot bed I seeded about a week ago has had perfect germination after I stayed on top of watering every day multiple times until they sprouted. Now I have to thin out the seedlings because there are far too many carrots in each row to properly grow large carrots. The variety I planted here is called Royal Chantenay, and it is a variety I really love to grow for the fall as a storage carrot because of its large size and thick, blunt roots, helping it store much longer than smaller varieties. It's also a good variety to grow even in rocky, imperfect soils. The back rows are full of perennials that come back year after year. These are walking onions. This season I planted mushrooms around them, and they're looking better than ever.
I don't think I planted this here, but look at that beautiful sunflower. There must have been a seed that just got dropped here.
The strawberries still need to be weeded and cleaned up for fall, and the asparagus has gone to seed. Once it all turns brown, I'll cut it back to the soil level to encourage strong root growth for next year. And over here are the Jerusalem artichokes. Some people call them the ultimate survival crop. They produce tubers on the ground that you can eat raw or cooked like a potato. They are invasive though. They've already started invading this neighboring onion bed. And this fall, I'll dig them up for a huge harvest. We did harvest a good amount of onions from the onion bed too, but they would have done a lot better without the shade from that neighboring Jerusalem artichoke bed, and they would have done a lot better if I actually stayed on top of weeding, but I've been distracted, and these small onions are the result of that. But we'll still enjoy them nonetheless. This garden is constantly changing, but by replanting right away and making the most of every inch, this little 20 by 20 foot space still feeds our family. If you thought you needed a big yard to grow food, I hope this shows you what's possible. I'll keep you posted as we head into fall planting. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And if you're looking for a full step-by-step plan to recreate this garden in your own backyard, I wrote a book called The 400 Square Foot Garden that gives you the entire playbook, step by step, with the entire crop plan, so you could grow a garden year-round, just like we do in a small backyard. You could check out that book now on Amazon or on our website at www.the400squarefootgarden.com. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.